Jeremy Uota, thank you for coming down.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you're a researcher at the university, huh?
No, I'm a student at the university.
Student researching.
Yep.
So tell me, what are you studying?
Right now I'm studying for my MBA at the university.
That's Shidler.
At Shidler,
Okay.
correct.
And but you got off into a research area that's really not so business, is it? Or is it?
I think everything has this business component, but this one is more Hawaiian history.
It certainly is. It's about overprinting of money, and I want to know everything about that, as much as you're willing to tell me.
Okay.
So first tell me how you got involved in researching Hawaiian history and overprinting of money.
Okay, I guess my interest in Hawaiian history it goes back from when I was kind of in college the first time, and I was interested in staying in touch with the islands, and I wasn't sure if I was going to go away or not. I ended up staying over here and then finishing up my degree at the Shidler College of Business, and right now I'm going back for the MBA, and then so. Meanwhile, I'm looking at Hawaiian history things, and your friend Fred Gregory, he got me interested in Hawaiian postal history, and then I also sidetrack into Hawaiian, miscellany, and so I'm looking at Hawaiian overprints right now, and this is from about the World War II era.
Okay, so everybody should know, what is an overprint?
Oh, okay, good.
You have some?
I did bring one.
Okay, good.
So I don't know how you wanna hold it up in
Yeah,
your
let me
favorite.
see if I can hold it up. That's an overprint. Now, what should people be looking for to identify the overprint?
Mainly the big Hawaii on the sides, and then the big Hawaii on the back.
So let the record reflect, if you can see this, that on the side it says Hawaii. Between the ones it says Hawaii, vertical to the bill. And the same thing over here, I guess, huh? There's the Hawaii vertical to the bill. And it's in essentially the same color as the bill is printed.
It's in black,
It's in black.
and there's big Hawaii on the back too.
Okay, okay. Oh, yes, and Hawaii is printed across the one on the back, if you can see that. It's just so interesting. So we have it on the sides and the front, and we have it on the back. And this actually looks like a current bill that I could put in my wallet, get change in the store and
You
all
probably
that.
could.
And it probably, nobody would ever say a word, actually.
Yep, it's still legal tender.
But this is truly amazing. And this bill was printed when?
It was printed a little bit after the bombing of Pearl Harbor,
Okay, during the war,
of course.
when everybody was all paranoid about everything.
And that's exactly why those bills were printed.
Okay, so, yeah, you're right. I mean, if I walked into the grocery store and I handed them this bill, nobody would say a word. They wouldn't even notice the Hawaii.
You could just slip it right in there. Same size, just different color seal, and then big Hawaii on the back. And
Now, you have a handwritten note that says November 10th, 1944. I don't know if that'll show up on the camera, but there it is. It's just below the Hawaii outline overprint on the back of the bill. What is that date? It's handwritten.
oh, it's probably just the soldier who had the note, and then they probably received it as pay. And then they're just scribbling on it, just saying, this is the day I received it, or
Okay.
because it's a curio for a lot of people, even back in the 1940s when this was issued.
So you were born in Hawaii,
I was born in Hawaii.
and you went to school here before you went to graduate school.
Mhm.
And so, did you go to UH undergraduate?
I went to UH for my undergraduate.
So what's your background that you should become so interested in overprinted bills?
I think just as a kid, you receive just collections from grandparents and aunties and uncles, and like these Hawaii overprint type notes would be in the collection, and it'd just be a little curious thing, and then so it's something that you kind of forget for a little bit, and then later on get a little bit older and you revisit it when you remember it.
Oh, how interesting. So you knew, before you started, school, you knew about overprinted bills.
Mm-hmm.
You knew what it was because your family had shown
Yep.
such bills to you.
Are
And
you from the islands, or
no, about, footnote for all of that is that I came here on October 1st, 1965, and I was a history minor in college.
Gotcha.
And I would have been really, really interested to know about this, but I never heard it until Fred Gregory told me that you were
Oh.
studying it. I never heard anything about it.
Yeah,
Never
yeah.
saw one. This is the first time today I've seen one.
Oh, great, great.
So you've seen one in the context of your family and oral history, I suppose, about what they were doing during the war and so forth. And they told you that this had happened. So you were primed.
I guess a little bit,
Yeah.
not on the thorough history, and then so I guess I read a little bit more, and then Don Metcalf, who has a little shop up the street.
Yeah, sure, on Bishop Street.
Yeah, he has like some of the best articles about these types of notes, and so if you want to go back, you can Google search it and find some of Don's articles about these Hawaiian overprint currency, and then so I guess just the takeaway from his articles is that during the war, all the currency was replaced with this Hawaiian overprint currency. So anybody who was in Hawaii that lived through World War II after Pearl Harbor pretty much had all of their money taken and replaced with Hawaii overprint currency. So everybody probably knows about it.
Everybody alive then.
Everybody
I
who was
wonder
alive
about
then.
your year
Yeah.
group. I doubt your year group.
It's a
will.
little bit different.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if you didn't hear about it from your parents, how are you going to know? It's not like
Exactly.
this is on the front page of the newspaper.
Oh, maybe way back in the day.
Way back in the day, yeah,
but not
yeah.
recently.
So let's talk about it. I mean, you mentioned before that this was a paranoid reaction to the war, to the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and the government, the federal government, somebody in the federal government decided that they had to quarantine, if you will, the currency money in the state of Hawaii. What was the rationale for that?
I guess the rationale was that Japan was very close by. They just bombed us on, December 7th, 1941. And they were pretty active in the Pacific, trying to make strongholds for themselves. And Hawaii is a very strategic location. So when the U.S. got, wind of Hawaii getting bombed, it gets a little bit nervous that Japan might be thinking about invading Hawaii. And because the U.S. currency is valuable all over the world at that time, and still is today, it was of concern that there's a lot of U.S. money in Hawaii because it was a territory of the United States. And then so they wanted to make sure that all of the money that was in Hawaii could be, declared null and void for any,
If there was an invasion.
in case of invasion. Correct.
So the currency wouldn't be lost to the aggressor, to the invader.
Correct.
That's an interesting theory. Was there precedent for that in other places, other times?
I'm not sure about that. Probably have to open a few books to
Yeah.
research that.
Well, I wonder. I mean, maybe this was something that was happening in Southeast Asia, for example. I'm thinking of Singapore or Hong Kong or other, territories of European powers where they thought, with good reason.
Oh, in the U.S., they also had North African notes issued for similar.
What kind of?
North African notes. Same like this, but just with different color printing, different color seal on there.
North African
Yeah.
in the U.S.?
It was just for issue to soldiers and
Oh, okay.
for circulation in that area. Because
In that area. There would be it'd be American money.
American money looks just like the regular dollar bill, but just with different colored seals.
See how the war, sort of discombobulated
And that's why it was a
things.
world war all over.
You bet.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so the idea back in this happened in the year 1941. No, that was
So
December
1941,
7th is
that
at
was
the end of the
bombing.
year. So
that was the bombing, and then
Yeah.
the subsequent year.
So it'd be 42 when it
42.
happened. That was the year I was born. Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
I was not involved in the war, though. So say in 42. Now, I mean, this reminds me of all those scenarios where the Japanese people in California were given instructions on how they're supposed to go to Manzanar and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an emergency, and you have to follow these steps, or else there'd be some MP out there who was going to do stuff to you. So anyway, so what happened to the average family? The average family in Hawaii. How did this impact them? How was it made known to them? What were they supposed to do?
I think it was probably it was a state of emergency at that time, and so
Martial law.
martial law was in effect.
Yeah.
And then so they had to comply with whatever the military said, and so I guess with the currency they had to switch all of their currency to these overprinted notes. And I think life back then was really different. I think they needed to turn off all of their lights at night so that bombers couldn't figure out where to target, and it was just a totally different way of life in Hawaii at that time.
So they would get a letter in the mail, or was it that the public was advised in sort of a mass information campaign?
I'm not sure about that, but I think Don Metcalf would probably be a great resource for that.
Yeah.
But if everybody had to turn it in, then there must have been in the newspaper or.
Yeah, I wonder, because I just wonder, I could ask Metcalf about this, and
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
we should follow the thread with him, but.
Could walk up the street and go ask him.
Yeah, or ask him to come down here.
Yeah.
It's only a couple of blocks. What's the name of his store?
Hawaiian Island Stamp and Coin.
Stamp and Coin, right at the corner of, what is it, Hotel Street, in the old International Savings Building there, yeah?
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just wonder if I see it in the paper, you must, on Monday morning, you must turn in your bills. Do I really turn my bills in? If I'm a local person, do I really do that? Or do I take my bills and I put them under my mattress and I leave them there? Because what exactly is the point? I mean, this is if I have disposable income I don't need to dispose of. If it's my paycheck, well, I'm not in control of that. So I guess on day one, you had a kind of choice to turn it in or not turn it in. But I suppose also that there was a penalty, a sanction of some kind if you didn't turn it in. And do you know about that? Have you done any research on that?
Yeah, Don's article has the exact details about the penalty, but there were criminal penalties for holding on to regular U.S. currency and not exchanging, and they would even go into your safety deposit box to switch out those notes too.
No kidding. So you really had to secrete it. If you were going to avoid that, you had to secrete it. And I suppose the criminal penalty would be pretty stiff because they would treat it as disloyalty or treason or something, consorting with the enemy or whatnot.
It might be, yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, so I take it down to a bank, right? And the bank would have this currency. They just called it overprinted money, overprinted currency.
It would probably just be currency, right?
Right, just be currency, yeah. And they would say, okay, well, have your old one, and we'll count that out, and then we'll give you this one. And now, from now on, everybody is going to, use this currency, and you're not supposed to use the other kind of currency. Suppose, and what would happen? Do you have any idea what would happen if you walked into a grocery store, like 6 months later and handed them an ordinary U.S. dollar? What would happen?
Well, I'm not sure about that, but
The sirens would go off. You get
I'm not
arrested.
sure, yeah. It might have been a problem. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think by about August time in
August of 42.
1942, everybody had most of their currency switched over.
And in those days, there were no credit cards. Checks weren't all that popular. You walked around with currency in your pocket.
Yep.
It's just exactly this kind of bill.
Yep.
All denominations were covered. All denominations were overprinted.
1s, 5s, 10s, and 20s.
So if you had a fancy denomination, like I guess they had $50 denominations in those days.
They probably had up to 1,000, 5,000.
Yeah, but you didn't have to switch the big ones.
You probably had to turn in everything and you replace it with.
Oh, you get the smaller currencies.
I would assume. So.
Yeah. So you wouldn't have that would be an interesting find, wouldn't it, if you could find a $1,000 bill with the overprint, that would be
Oh, they
valuable.
overprinted only the ones,
Only the-
fives.
So you,
10s, and
you had to
20s.
turn in the big denominations, but you got the smaller ones back.
I would assume so.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay, so then from that point on, commerce was generally done with currency in those days, and it would be all around you. And how long did it last until you could get your regular money back?
I think the mandate stayed in effect until about 1944 or 1945.
But not after the war, before the war.
What are you talking about?
In other words, the switch back. Did they wait till the end of the war? They wait till
It was a little bit before the end
before,
of the war, but
yeah.
things had to settle down a little bit.
Yeah,
And then so,
the government had to feel comfortable, confident again.
correct.
That there would be no invasion.
So a little bit before, VJ Day,
Yeah.
probably about a year, give or take, a few
Okay.
months probably.
Okay, what happened then? I mean, how was it switched back, do you know?
I think all it was you could redeem your Hawaii overprint currency for regular U.S. currency, and both were acceptable in the islands again.
So you could you could go to the bank,
Mhm.
same bank, and hand them this overprinted currency, and they would give you regular currency.
I would assume so.
Yeah. And suppose you didn't do that. Suppose you held on to this currency. Was
Mhm.
there a penalty for that?
No, I don't think there's any penalty for that. The overprinted currency was still legal tender, and it still is to.
Still is today.
Yep.
So this is, I mean, it's not just a question of the person behind the counter not failing to recognize this as overprint. It is in fact legal
It still is.
tender. And that means it could be legal tender anywhere in the country or the world.
Yeah, I would assume so.
So nobody in Cincinnati is going to question this bill, or shouldn't.
They probably will look at it a little bit funny
Yeah.
if they notice it. But
Now, if they were smart guys, when they saw this bill, they
Mhm.
would realize there's something unusual with this
Mhm.
bill. This bill has got a big history to it.
Mhm.
I think I'll take it down to my favorite
Yeah.
coin collector person and see what it's really worth.
Mhm.
What's it really worth?
Well, it has, I think, because it was a curio even back in the World War II days. Everybody had it, and everybody stashed at least a few dollars away. So
Oh, after the war.
after the war,
This kind.
and then so
Yeah.
probably every family, has a little stash, and a lot of the military people that passed through here, all the soldiers and Navy seamen that passed through here, collected at least a few notes to take home as souvenirs. So they're not all that rare, but they can range from probably about $10 and upwards to, several thousand, depending on
Depending on what?
condition
Uh.
and minor varieties. And
So this one is in plastic. I hope it isn't damaged by the plastic. Huh?
no.
No.
Plastic is to protect.
And this is it appears to me through the plastic, this is in perfect shape. There
in-
really isn't a mark on it. So I have that handwritten date on the back, but it's not deteriorated at all. Although you can see it's been folded crosswise.
So it's
couple-
circulated.
It's indeed. So what's this one worth now?
That
that
one's
you
probably
wouldn't-
worth, $10-15.
That's all.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were dealing with something really, really valuable here.
It is valuable for its history.
It is indeed, yeah.
But yeah, you can probably purchase it at a collectibles store for
Metcalf's.
Metcalf store for $10, $20 each.
But you said that they could be as valuable as $1,000. So
Mhm.
what is the distinction to make them that valuable?
It depends. It's minor varieties and then condition. So this one's circulated.
Yeah.
Collectors might want something that's pristine, uncirculated.
So there are collectors who like Fred Gregory, he specializes in covers and all that.
Yep.
Postal covers, but somebody might specialize in overprinted money.
Correct.
Maybe you.
Maybe.
You might have a number of these.
Might have.
Yeah. Well, we don't have to tell them.
Don't need to tell anybody anything.
So your thought, I think, is that
Mhm.
if you hold on to them for
Mhm.
another generation,
Yep.
The ones that are loose and scattered in the back of the dresser drawer are going to get lost,
Yep.
and yours are going to get more valuable.
Who knows?
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, so so you learn about this from your family,
Mm-hmm.
and you see some of these overprinted bills around the house, and while you're in graduate school, you decide you're going to research it.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want to know the track of your research. Where did you get in on it, and
Mm-hmm.
where did it take you?
Oh, I think I probably started off, knowing what everything looked like. So you can just browse the internet, search Hawaii overprint currency, and then there's several sites with examples.
right?
Yep.
On the mainland or here?
I think lots of them are mainland sites.
Interesting.
But,
People
the
who love
World Wide
Hawaii,
Web, everybody loves Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yep. And then so I think after that, I just started to look for more articles, and there's a lot of people who blog about overprinted currency, and there's also, I guess, more literature like Don's articles that provide more insight about the history of the notes and everything. And so it's been interesting, just, I guess, deepening my knowledge about the different peculiarities about the notes, and also about the more of the intricacies in the history of the notes. So it's been an interesting little study of mine that I do on the side.
It's a hobby.
It's a little hobby, yeah.
Yeah. Well, does it take you to other things, or are you still focused only on the notes?
I think everything's related to everything. So by studying these notes, I get to meet interesting ThinkTech people like Jay Fidell over here.
We get to meet you.
Exactly. And then so who knows, it's one of those things that I'm studying right now, and I'll probably publish something a little bit later.
Well, I want to talk about that. So, where does your into what materials? I mean, you mentioned some websites, but what if I were going to dig in the way you have? First, of course, I would go to the web, because that's where you go these days.
That's where you go.
Our generation, our time, is you
Correct.
start research on the web. It tells you so much. So the web has taken you to a variety of sites of collectors and experts
Correct.
who have collected, who have
Done
been interested
research,
in this.
Mm-hmm.
And are these sites you're talking about dedicated to overprinted bills, or are they sites of coin and bill collectors where this is only one of a number of items?
It's mostly sites that this would be just one of a number of
Yeah,
items, and
okay,
so
okay.
it's maybe a blog post, a little snippet about, this is a type of U.S. currency, and then so I think there's a range of websites, and so you can just kind of click around and see what you might find. And there's some collectors clubs that published like Don's article, and then so I corresponded with them to get a copy of Don's article.
Oh, is that how you found Don's article? You didn't walk up there and say, "Don, can I get your article?"
No, because I didn't know he wrote it. And so internet is magic, and so
You bet. Yeah.
so I talked to him after about it, but then I didn't know that he
It's
wrote
right
it in
down
the
the
first place.
street.
Correct.
Go around the world and come right back down the
Yep.
street. Okay, so what about serious writing? I mean, I shouldn't say there's no serious writing on the web, but what about somebody who's actually written a hard copy book or a significant article like Don's? Anybody else?
I think Don's is probably one of the more in detail
Oh, interesting.
recent
So we have to
articles.
look at that.
So
Is it on the web, that article?
this one was I got a photocopy of.
Ah, so it really is not something that you just Google and find.
Yeah, maybe you can Google.
Maybe
Google's
now.
digitizing everything. So
Yeah, I guess so. We should Google. So what about you now? You did say that you were thinking about writing something about this. You said you weren't quite prepared, though.
of course, yeah. Well, I studied enough, and then so hopefully one day I'll just build upon, the previous scholarly works and add my 2 cents to
Yeah.
the record.
Yeah. Well, I actually think you'd find, I mean, short of a scholarly work, I mean, and for definition, you know, I would say that Fred Gregory's
Yep.
books on covers, he's got a number of books on covers,
He has thick books on.
thick books,
Yep.
you know, and he writes really well
Correct.
and fabulous, and he spent his life doing this, and it's
Mhm.
all so casual for him, but it's really serious work. I admire him as what a hobby, eh?
He's a master of what he does.
He's a master. And if you ask him a question, you'll get the full answer.
Definitely, yeah.
So how did you run into him?
I met him probably about 10 years ago when I was trying to figure out, am I going to stay in Hawaii or am I going to go to school on the mainland? And then so I bumped into his website way back in the day, and then I just began conversing with him, and then when he came down, I met up with him, and then we've been friends ever since.
That's great. He's a great man.
Yeah, great guy.
I've known him since when I told you, October 1965.
Yeah,
So how many years is that? Ooh.
a couple of years back.
But I want to offer a thought to you, actually, Jeremy, is
Okay.
that nobody that I know knows about this.
Mhm.
This is a sort of a, I mean, in the old days, it was not a surprise and delight. It was a sort of a dark piece of the relationship between the federal government and the people of Hawaii. I wouldn't say it's something admirable either. But okay, yeah, they can be paranoid if they want. But now I don't think a lot of people know about this. It's just been lost in history as one of those details. And if you didn't have, you know, some contact or family the way you do, you wouldn't know about it. And so I'm thinking that you could publish about this. It wouldn't have to be necessarily scholarly, but you would be well read if you published a story in the newspaper or a local magazine, you know, a magazine like Hawaii Business, for example. I think people would be very interested, and they would revel in the nostalgia of it, you know.
That's true. That's true.
Why don't you do that?
I'll think about it.
Yeah, please.
Include Don in
Yeah,
doing something, hopefully.
yeah. And, you know, I'll talk to him if he'll talk to me. Maybe we get him in this chair to talk about the overprint and all the other stuff that, you know, there's I know from Fred Gregory that there's a huge amount of material that comes from Hawaii in the way of stamps, coins, and covers that is worldwide. People from everywhere in the
Everybody
world.
always thought Hawaii was an exotic place.
Yeah,
Even back in the 1800s.
yeah. And this
That
is,
continues today.
It continues today, and it's enchanting, you know, to people everywhere.
Just in the middle of the Pacific, that's why.
Yeah, exotic is right. So anyway, I think it's great that you're studying this. I think it's great that you have a hobby and even some specimens, and that you will ultimately write an article.
Okay.
And I'll be looking for the article.
Okay. We'll definitely be in touch then.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jeremy.
Jay.
Appreciate it. Good luck on all this.
Okay, thank you.